Hi everybody, I just wanted to talk to you guys about something that's really near and dear to my heart today, and that's traveling with your pets, specifically to Hawaii. So I live in Hawaii half of the year and I travel around the other half of the year. So I wanted to talk to you about how I bring my dog Maggie back and forth from Hawaii to the mainland. And I also had to bring her there when I first moved to Hawaii, so there was a whole process to get her and my other dog at the time on the island, and it was so stressful, and I'd wish that somebody had made a video so that I could have followed it, because it really was like one of the most stressful things I've ever done. So I just wanted to make a video for you guys since it's fresh on my mind right now, since I recently did it, and I thought I would walk you through the steps and maybe it'll help somebody out there. And if it does help somebody, then great. I just want to let you know it's not as stressful as it seems. So I'm going to help you bring your pet to Hawaii in 7 simple steps. So step 1 is rabies vaccines. You want to make sure that the pet has had 2 rabies vaccines in its life, and that they are not, they are more than 30 days apart. So 30 days between each vaccine, and you want to make sure that they've been done at least 90 days before your pet arrives in Hawaii, the last vaccine. So rabies certificates will look like this. They could look different depending on what vet you went to. So these are 2 different ones that I've gotten in my pet's life. So definitely have those, and you want to make sure, again, they are done 90 days before your pet arrives in Hawaii. So a lot of this is a waiting game, and that's step 1 of the waiting game. So make sure you get those vaccines. All right, so step 2 is to make sure your pet is microchipped. It's a super easy thing to do. Don't let it freak you out. It's just a little chip that goes under the skin, and that chip contains all of your information, usually your address, phone number, and information in case the pet does get separated or lost, they can return the pet to you. But the most important reason you want to get that microchip done is because the chip number that is on that chip is going to go onto your blood testing paperwork, and they want to make sure that you're bringing the same pet to Hawaii that you did the test on, so that's how they can verify that this is the same animal. So make sure you get your microchip done before you get your blood test done. So that's one tip for you. Super easy. A lot of places have specials on it. Sometimes it's only 15 bucks, but I would recommend getting a microchip even if you're not coming to Hawaii. It's just a good thing to have. Okay, now we're going to talk about step 3. Can't really get that pinky down, but that's the 3. Okay, this is your blood test. Specifically, I want to spell it because I can't pronounce it right, the OIEFAVN rabies blood test. I'm just going to call it a titer test just because it's easier. So your titer test. This can only be done by 2 places. There's one which I used, which was the Kansas State Veterinary place here. This is I believe it's Kansas State University. This one is the main one I've always seen. There's also a DoD Food Analysis and Diagnostic Lab in Texas that can do it. But just a little tip, if you can just get them sent straight to one of these places is better, because if it goes to a third party and then they have to send it there, it kind of delays the test results, and I'll talk about why that's important in just a second. So your test results will come back, and they will look something like this. This is Maggie's test results. It's a little form here. And what they're verifying, again, is the microchip number. You'll see the microchip numbers right there. So you make sure that microchip number is correct. Also, they're going to talk about the date that the serum was drawn. That's important, that date right there. You want to keep that date handy. And just all the other information, vaccination record, history of when the last vaccine was done, things like that. And you want to make sure that you get this done by a vet that's going to send this paperwork in for you. So the test results will come back, and you want to make sure they're 0.05 IU milliliters, and that's your result. You want to get that, or it's going to be equal to or greater than that number. So we need to get this done 120 days before you're going to arrive in Hawaii. And that's kind of where the quarantine period comes in, with direct airport release and all of that. So your arrival date in Hawaii has to be 120 days after they receive the sample. That's the day it arrives at their lab. And again, Make sure that they put Hawaii as the destination. Super important, because they're going to go ahead and send this to the proper place. So if they put that on there, this report's going to get to the people at the Honolulu International Airport Quarantine Department. So you want to make sure they list that on here as well. So anyway, I hope that answers that question. Usually your vet will be able to pull this test and send this titer in for you, so you don't have to worry about that. I always ask them to FedEx it, so that it gets there faster and you can get a tracking number. You want to make sure you can keep up with where it is. And yeah, that part's not hard. That is probably the most expensive part of it, the testing. That's a little pricey, can be between $200 and $300, so just make sure you're budgeted for that. Anyway, I hope that answers your questions on that. If not, you can definitely ask questions down below. All right, so now we're going to talk about step 4. Step 4 is basically to wait. Okay, it's been 120 days. So after 120 days, you are, and you've got your test results and you've definitely passed your test and you're good to go, then you can start thinking about booking that ticket, or, you know, planning your trip to Hawaii with your pet. So I would definitely recommend getting that test in as soon as you know you're going and you want to bring your animal with you. You may have a case like I did when I first moved to Hawaii, where I had to go ahead and go because I had a job and I had to leave my animals behind for the quarantine period, which is 120 days. So I had to come back and get them and then come and bring them with me so that they didn't have to go into the animal quarantine holding at the Honolulu International Airport. So I left them home with some family and friends and then came back and got them when their quarantine time was up so they could be directly released from the airport. So that's it. That's step 4, is just waiting. Vet's office to get Maggie's health certificate so she can fly to Hawaii with me. So let's go see what this process looks like. Oh. Okay, come on, Maggie. Come on. Okay, step 5. So this is just all about making sure you have your documents in order. So a couple of things I want to really talk about with this part is, again, your vaccine certificates. So one important thing is to make sure you have the original. Don't bring a copy, send rather the original. And you want to make sure that there's a signature, an ink signature on this document. Super important. They want to make sure it's a legitimate copy with an ink signature. So make sure you have that in order. So I'm going to have 2 of those, your 2 most recent vaccine certificates. And make sure that on this certificate, there's a couple things you want to make sure that are listed. One of them is going to be, let me see if I can find it on here, the serial number of the vaccine. I don't know if you can see that. The booster interval dates, if that's something that if you have a puppy and you had to do the boosters. Also the vaccine name and the expiration date of the vaccine. So here we go. We've got the, let's see, this one is an older one. Let's get the newer one here. Okay, vaccine, and it shows that it's a 3-year. That's another thing. If you can get a 3-year one, if you're going to be traveling back and forth, you don't have to keep doing it. So there's that. You've got your vaccine number and all of your information on here at the bottom. All that information is important, that you want to have that expiration date and everything on there. This is an older one, so back from 2007, so really old, but as you can see, I keep all my paperwork. So super important. Another thing you want to do is you're going to get a health certificate. I don't have that with me. I gave it to the ladies at the airport. They're keeping it on file because it was a one-time deal. You have to get a health certificate every time you enter Hawaii. You want to get it done within 14 days of arriving. So 14 days window before you arrive. You want to get that health certificate, and basically the vet's going to go through it with you, make sure that your animal is safe to travel. They also are going to need to write all of this information on that health certificate. The vaccine information, everything we just talked about, the lot number, the serial number, all that stuff has to go on that health certificate for your last 2 vaccines. And you're also going to have them treat your animal for ticks and fleas, and they have to write that on the health certificate as well. So, and the health certificate does have to be in English, so make sure if you are traveling internationally that you get that done in English. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything. So, okay, one thing I have to tell you about my experience with getting health certificates is most vets, this is new to them too. Don't think they know what they're doing because they really don't. You need to take the lead in this, and you need to basically walk them through it. Make sure they fill everything out, because if you get to the airport and your paperwork is not right, it's on you. So you really need to make sure that they go through and write all these things down. It might seem silly, but make sure they write down the expiration date of your vaccine. Make sure they write down the lot number, the name of the vaccine. I know it seems silly and tedious, but you really need to make sure that they do their job correctly, because you're paying them for it. So, and that's what I did. I just made sure I went through after and checked behind my vet and said, hey, can you just fill this out and put this in there? And they were totally okay with it, but just make sure that that part gets done, because it's an easy thing to miss. All right, now we're going to talk about step 6. Wait, 6. Okay, so step 6 is getting all your paperwork together and sending it in. Now, you want to send your paperwork in 10 days before you're going to arrive at the airport. So definitely give yourself some leeway on this. Make sure that you get it in and it gets there 10 days before you, and then you can always call and check to make sure it has arrived and everything's in order. And they're really great about answering the phone and talking to you there. You can ask them questions. Sometimes it's a little hard to get through, but when you do get somebody, they are super awesome. So just know that. So, okay, 10 days before you arrive, your paperwork should be in their office already. So, what do you want to send? Your vaccine certificates, the original ink-signed copies. And I will say, as you're sending all of your original documents in, it can be a little scary because you're like, oh, this is my only copy. Make copies of everything you're sending just in case something happens and it doesn't arrive, and you know, just make yourself feel better. Make some copies. I always have my copies on hand. So there's that. The other thing you want to send in is your dog and cat import form, which we haven't talked about yet. But this is super easy and straightforward. So you can print this right off of the website that I'm going to link in the description below. You can print this form. You're going to fill it out, and it just, let's see, you have to put again your microchip number. So again, you want to have your microchip before you do this paperwork, and it tells you the fees that you're going to also send in, or you can pay when you get there. Really, it's up to you. But if you want to go ahead and mail it in, you can mail it a check. Direct airport release, which is where you get to take your animal that same day out of the airport, is $165. 5 days or less is $224. And it says Neighbor Island inspect permit $145. You'll have to look at this because I've only done direct airport release. I can tell you for sure it's $165 every time I bring Maggie back to Hawaii. So and I usually just pay with my debit card when I get there, to be honest, but you can send a check in if you want. Anyway, this form will be, you can access it in the link below. So there's that. Again, make copies of everything that you're going to be bringing. Oh, one more thing. This form right here, after you fill it out, you do have to get it notarized. Super important. Really kind of a weird thing that can slip through the cracks, but you're going to get it notarized before you send it in. So just letting you know there, make sure that gets notarized. So what you're going to bring with you to the airport in your physical hands is all your copies of everything that you've made. Gotta make a copy of everything I've mailed in just in case, and your health certificate. So you're gonna hand carry that health certificate in, and obviously your pet. Alright, step 7. So this is basically the step where I'm going to tell you some tips to make your life a lot easier and this process go a lot smoother. First tip is that you want to make sure your flight arrives to the Honolulu International Airport between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. The reason being, the facility is open from 8 to 5, and you want to have time to make sure you can get through all of your paperwork before they close, or your pet will have to spend the night. So that's the most important tip in my opinion. The other tip is that if you're traveling internationally, you want to check the customs hours before you book your flight. So make sure you look into that before you plan your whole trip. If you're going to be traveling to another island, you'll want to research a little more in the link below about the hours for that and what the process is. I've only ever personally arrived in Honolulu International Airport as my final destination. So if you need help with that, we can look through it and I can help you through that too. Another thing is this is going to be, this is what I use, and this is a checklist of basically what we all just covered. This is how I got all my information together to prepare this video. So there's a document that you can print off of the internet, and I'll put it in the link below so you can go and find it. Basically, this is the checklist that we just covered. You can basically print this and go step by step in it, and this is exactly what I do whenever I'm planning a trip, even if it's my 5th trip back. I always print one of these and go through it. It's very helpful. This is the 5-day or less program checklist that I go through, and it's a lifesaver. I've never had any problems getting my animals in with this. So I'm going to definitely link all of those things below so that you can print them. And one more thing that I'll link for you is a website where you can go and get your pet's test results to make sure that they passed their titer test. One more thing I want to show you is once you get through and you're done and you can sigh a big huge breath of relief that you got through that, you will get this. It's an airport release card, and it basically is just saying that you passed and your pet is allowed to come into Hawaii now. So here you go. This is what it looks like. This is the signal that you have done your job well. So hope you get one of these. If you have any questions, definitely ask them in the comments below. I'll be glad to help you as much as I can. I know it can be stressful, and I'm just hoping to make this a little easier for everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think. If you've enjoyed this video, definitely give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more of me and Maggie, definitely subscribe to our channel. We would love to show you what we do in our lives. It's an exciting, crazy life. We'd love for you to join us. Anyway, thank you again. Y'all have a great day. Bye.